So right outside the wall you see in the back of me is 2 feet of snow on Long Island. And everybody panics. It's not Minnesota here or the Dakotas or Canada. It's like, oh my God, snow. But it's a pain. It's a pain. When I was a little kid, I lived for days, snow days. And all the urchins didn't have to go to school today and all that. But just the sheer volume of trying to get around, you can't. So I hope that everybody in the Northeast took a rest day. I don't have any rest days because I got to work. But let's call this winter, okay? Enough. Let's kind of segue into spring. I think that's a good idea. All right, the U.S. hockey gold is the subject of this evening's Talking Points memo. Right before we started to tape this in the late afternoon, it was announced that the U.S. women's hockey team won the gold, is not going to appear at the State of the Union. They were invited by President Trump. Members of the men's team will appear. Not all of them, because there's a whole kind of logistical, because the NHL starts midweek back up. But this is an interesting story because there's a huge culture difference between women's sports and men's sports in America. And that's the subject of this evening's Talking Points memo. It goes beyond that, of course. We are a divided nation, deeply divided. And the political hatred is growing, all right? And it's spurred by President Trump's presence, no matter what he does, all right? It's spurred by immigration, ICE, all of that. And the third is the economy. So some people are having trouble keeping up, okay? So when you get all those elements swirling around, then you have a divided country, which is what we have. So you get 2 gold medal winners, the men's hockey team and the women's hockey team. The men's team, very respectful and patriotic. The women's team, not so much. Sorry, ladies. It's not as bad as the women's soccer team, which was anti-American, in my opinion. But, you know, it's a different culture. Okay, let's run it down for you with some facts to back it up. It's always nice, right? So after the USA defeated Canada on Sunday, the Hughes brothers, these guys are amazing. One of whom won the game with a goal in overtime, said this. Go.
This is all about our country right now. I love the USA. I love my teammates. It's unbelievable. The USA Hockey Brotherhood is so strong. And we had so much support from ex-players. I'm so proud to be American today.
I love the U.S. and it's the greatest country in the world, so happy to represent it here with these guys, and it's really special.
All right, so that's Jack and Quinn Hughes. And you gotta, when I'm watching it, I got up early, 8 a.m. to watch it. I was proud. I just said, you guys did what you had to do. And the reason that the USA won was because of Connor Hollaback, the goalie. Plays for the Winnipeg Jets, but he's from Commerce, Michigan. He blocked 41 of 42 shots. I mean, without him, Canada would have won. Because Canada was getting more shots on goal and had the better of the play, but the USA would not give up. And so they deserve their win. The only controversy that we can see was when Kash Patel, the director of the FBI, showed up in the locker room after the game to hoist a beer with the boys. Okay, now, I'm not offended by this, and there was a reason that Mr. Patel was there. The FBI provided some security expertise to the Italian government during the entire Olympics. It wasn't like Patel just flew over for the game. He's the head of the Bureau, and the Bureau was working with the Italians to make sure nothing happened, and nothing did happen. This is miraculous. So if Patel wants to go in and have a good time with the boys after the game, I don't have any problem with that. But of course, others do. Roll the tape.
His spokesperson says he was in Milan on official business. Well, aren't there more officially pressing business matters to be dealt with here in the States that maybe he could have done a better job than showing up in Milan on the private jet?
He showed up at the for American athlete security. He showed up at the end of the Olympics, and so I think generally in law enforcement, when there's an issue, you show up at the beginning so that you can prepare security. He was chugging beer.
Honey, you're not playing. You're not, and he's behaving like he's like a member of Animal House.
Please. Number one, I don't think Ms. Goldberg even knew that the FBI was assisting the Italian government, and the other ones is that you show up not at the. I don't know why Disney. I just don't know why. But it's never going to change over there. So on the internet, which we ignore because they're haters, they're serious haters. These are seriously damaged people. I have to point out the Huffington Post is the worst. Just hates the country, hates the United States. In Canada, there was mild criticism. Go.
Look, I'll just say, number one, I certainly echo everyone's sentiment feeling today and how this stinks. It's a tough one. Canada deserved to win this game. They outplayed the U.S.
So what? Come on, accept it gracefully. All right, I wrote a message of the day. It's on BillO'Reilly.com. It's about nationalism. And there is a good part of nationalism and a bad part. And the final point I want to make before we get to our guest, Stephen A. Smith, is that you are looking at a situation that is far more important than a sport. So our country, I don't know if it's ever going to come together again. Not in my lifetime. I don't think it will. I think this division is there to stay between the red states and the blue states and the women's team and the men's team. And under a constitution, perfectly, there's no demand that we're in lockstep. But it makes me sad. It does. And that's a memo. All right, joining us from Miami, where he's hiding out from the snow, is Stephen A. Smith, who is the premier sportscaster in America. Whether you like him or not, he is. And he's the author of Straight Shooter, a memoir of second chances and first takes that's still in circulation, his book. All right, where am I going wrong here, Stephen?
Well, I would say to you, let me first applaud you on where I think you're going right. I do believe that, I don't have any problem whatsoever with the FBI director being in the locker room celebrating with the Team USA. He's the FBI, United States of America. His rooting interest clearly is undeniable. And we've seen plenty of elected officials at sporting events rooting on Team USA. What's wrong with him being there? I see no issue with that whatsoever. And even though I have a great relationship and I love me some Whoopi Goldberg, she's a friend. I've known her for many, many years. And I respect those on The View, even though we may disagree from time to time. I just think that they were off with what they were complaining about when it came to Kash Patel being there, being present, et cetera, et cetera. Where I would disagree with you is when you talk about Disney, because I would remind you, Bill O'Reilly, I've been working for ESPN for over 20 years. I work for Disney, and they certainly don't control what I say, and I certainly have opinions that are far different from them. So I would say to you, specify The View as opposed to specifying Disney, because I work for it too, and they don't have any influence over what I say.
Let me rebut, because I didn't know you were going to bring this up, and it's an interesting topic.
Sure.
Disney puts on a propaganda show every day, a left-wing propaganda show every day. Mm-hmm. You don't do that. Okay. You do sports.
I don't.
ESPN does sports. Now, in the globe of sports, you got a lot of different opinions. You got Steve Kerr out in the
Sure.
Golden State
Popovich.
Warriors.
You got others.
Right.
Yeah.
But you got conservative guys. You got that.
Sure.
But Disney, under the banner of news, which of course it isn't, The View is not news, all right, throws a left-wing propaganda show on that does not book one conservative guest the whole year of 2025. You think that's okay?
I don't think it's okay. I don't think they think it's okay, and I think that's why they've made efforts to correct it. Now, you might have
what efforts? What efforts?
I'm just saying. You've seen conservatives coming on. I didn't know I was here to talk about that, but I won't run from it. I will tell you that I think they know that it's a problem that needed to be addressed, and as a result, it's in the process of being addressed because you've seen more conservatives coming on that show.
Who?
Now, you've been on the show in the past. Well, Marjorie Taylor Greene was one of them. I forgot who else.
The
was
only
up there.
reason she was on there was to bash Trump. She could never get on there until she started to bash Trump. Then they want her.
Well, but then you also have, they would tell you, I don't know this because I'm not a part of that show, but they would tell you that Republicans have been invited and they've been reluctant to come on. That's what they would say. That's what they would say. I don't know that to be true, Bill, and neither do you.
True.
Stop that. You don't know that to be true.
Yeah, I do.
I know they've been on my show on many occasions. They don't turn me down. I'm matter of fact, more liberals than Republicans turn me down. More liberals than Republicans turn me down. So, I get where you're coming from.
Right. It's a propaganda thing that's shoved down the throat, and it's okay if they would have a counter to it, but they don't.
Okay, that's fine, and I can agree with that. But isn't it true, Bill, and you would know this better than me because of the decades you've been in television, you see it everywhere now. Like whether CNN, MSNBC, Fox News, everybody has their own arm. Everybody has their own tilt. We've seen that before.
That's
We've been
true.
seeing it a lot. So, you can't deny. It's not about one show. It's not even about one entity. It's about the business itself, which is something that we've lamented. One of the things that I've said, and I've said this publicly, so I can say it to you again, about late night. Late night's got an issue. Do you know what would have resolved the issue from day one? You're comedians. What's the number one things comedians say? Nobody is safe. Everybody is open to be parodied, ridiculed, etc., etc. And there seemed to be this concerted effort aimed at one individual who happens to be our president who's in his second term, more considerably, excessively more than anybody else. Had they went after everybody, we wouldn't have these problems.
And they ruined themselves.
We wouldn't have these problems.
They ruined themselves.
So I agree with you there.
So did SNL. Yeah. All right, let's get to the women's men's thing.
Sure.
So there's a different culture, I believe.
Okay.
In the locker rooms of both. Would I be wrong in saying that?
Yeah, but maybe not for the reasons you're thinking. I think that a lot of times with the guys, for example, you're going out there and you're fixated on your performance, but you're not necessarily as connected to the issues in an intimate and more emotional manner than some of the ladies are. And the ladies are smart as a whip. They pay attention to a lot of the issues. They're mindful, they're cognizant, and most importantly, they seem to be a bit more unafraid to speak out about various issues. Well, like you brought up in your monologue when you talked about immigration. It could be immigration. It could be the state of our country.
Wouldn't it have been better, though, for the coach of the women's team just to say, I'm letting the ladies decide for themselves, rather than issue a statement?
But we don't know that's not what happened.
No, they issued a statement. The women's hockey team said, we're not showing up for the State of the Union, even though we're invited by the president.
Yeah, but what I'm saying to you is that the coach wasn't speaking for them. I mean, they let it be known that's how they feel collectively.
Well, okay, and but they don't run the asylum. All the coach had to do was say, if there are any dissenters who would like to go to the State of the Union, you're free to go. No. They wanted to embarrass Trump. That's what they wanted to do.
No. I disagree with you that. It's not about wanting to embarrass him. It's about emphatically disagreeing with them and letting it be known that's how you feel about him. Is that, well, listen, here's the
You think everybody on that women's team disagrees with Trump? You don't think he's one person who likes the president?
I think it's entirely possible that collectively speaking, a lot of them, if not all of them, don't like him. But you're missing the point why, and I'm going to get at you about this, Bill O'Reilly. Again, policy aside, how many times have you and I go back and forth about the optics and how things are done? Everybody's not in the weeds the way that you are. Look at the details that you provided. Look at when you were talking about Cash Patel. You literally gave us information about what he was there for, what his work entailed prior to the celebration upon Team USA winning the gold medal. You'd be surprised. You know how many people didn't know that? But they come to the no spin zone and then they find it out. There's a lot of things that you know. The fact of the matter is that far more often than not, people are not going by that. They're going by how things look. They're going about, they're catching stuff on a surface level as it pertains to how he chooses to do things. We all know that if you open the borders and you let over 12 million people in here illegally and what have you, that things have to be done. They know that. But in the same breath, how you go about addressing the issue, the sensitivity that you verbalize and you express, all of those things play a role. And you yourself have said,
I don't mind.
You yourself have said you didn't like the way he did things sometimes, the way he does it. And that's what people lament.
But here's where you're making your mistake, and I'll give you the last word. I don't mind the dissent. Okay? But the men's hockey team honored the country. They didn't honor Trump, but they were respectful when they got the invitation. Some of them will go and some of them wouldn't. Okay? But the women's team was not respectful to the office of the presidency.
First thing, let me say this. I completely agree with you about the importance of respecting the office. I don't want that to get lost in our back and forth. Respect the office is incredibly, incredibly important. You're right. But Bill, you have to respect what you know better than most. This is America. And in America, it's not just about freedom of speech. It's not just about freedom of expression. It's the freedom to feel the way that you want to feel. You may not like how somebody has gone about doing things, but it is their right to do it. And I know you're not questioning their right to do it. You know they have a right to do it. What I'm saying to you is that if you believe that a person that's serving as our commander-in-chief is classless, he's devoid of decorum, you wish he would act better, and he really has riled you up and really, really turned you off, and you have an opportunity to express yourself in a fashion where you're engaging in what you would deem to be reciprocation, that might be what's behind it all. I'm not saying
I don't believe that every woman on that team feels that way.
I'm not. Okay, that's fine. But what I'm saying, but what I'm trying to say to you, whether it's 12, 15, or 20 people, it's entirely plausible that they could feel that way. And you're right. Maybe
let them express it as individuals, but don't use the team banner.
But you don't know. What I'm saying to you is, as a guy covering sports, you don't know that they were prohibited from doing that. You don't know if they made the decision to have a voice speak for the collective body as opposed to them wanting to speak individually. Some of them may have preferred it this way.
If that were the case, the team did not announce it, which would be very unusual.
And I would say to you, I would say to you that in covering sports, when a team comes to that conclusion, more often than not, trust me, those players made the decision and deferred to them. I've been covering sports for 30 years. A lot of times players hide behind the team. Players hide behind the team a lot.
I think
they really do, Bill. They really do. They hide behind the team a lot. Seriously.
Absolutely correct. All right, Stephen A., thanks for the lively debate. We really appreciate it. We'll see you soon. Final thought, we want you pre-order our hats, which are breaking records now. So we got two of them, No Spin Nation. Throw them on up there. And USA 250 because it's our anniversary. Okay? So they're really good. They'll last forever. So check those out on our store on BillO'Reilly.com. Word of the day, not be bellicose. Bellicose. I have been accused of being bellicose. All right, here's the final thought. So on March 4th, a week from this coming Wednesday, Cuomo is going to be in Israel. So News Nation asked me to do his whole show. Okay, I'm going to do the whole hour. March 4th, 8 p.m., News Nation. But I'm bringing back the factor. We're going to have some really surprise guests, and it's going to be the factor. Time capsule. Okay, you don't want to miss this. So I'm pleased to do it, and we'll cover the news, but we'll cover it like we used to cover it on the Fox News Channel. March 4th, 8 p.m., News Nation. Be there. Thanks for watching the No Spin News. I'm Bill O'Reilly. We'll see you again tomorrow. 9 o'clock tonight. It's going to be long. You might want to take a nap, have a lot of snacks on hand. It's going to be a pep rally, I think. Donald Trump has to mobilize the Republican Party for the midterms, which kick off tonight. The Republicans are counting on him. So the midterm election is all about President Trump. That's unusual. It's usually about independent candidates across the country, not now. So we're going to go over it and tell you exactly what happens and why it happens with somebody who worked on some of these State of the Union speeches. So that should be interesting. Talking Points memo, however, is our friends south of the border and you. Mexico, now in a war with the violent drug and people smuggling cartels. We told you this was going to happen. Let's see, I'm trying to do the math here. About 5 years ago, I spoke with President Trump about this and said, look, the only way to control these cartels is for the USA to get involved and probably directly with military action. That did not happen over the weekend when this cartel guy was taken into custody by the Mexican authorities, but the U.S. intel pinpointed him. And Claudia Sheinbaum, the president of Mexico, has to take action or Trump will. So that sets the tone. Nevertheless, about 20 million Americans visit Mexico every year. Why? I understand family, but a lot of people go there for fun. I got a slew of letters this morning. Should I go? My daughter's having a wedding, all of this stuff. And I'm going, I have been telling you for years, stay out of Mexico. It's violent and out of control and corrupt. In fact, here's what I said March 22nd, 2023, 3 years ago. Roll it. The State Department issues a warning about what's going on in Mexico. They say that unlawful or arbitrary killings by police, military, and other government officials are happening in Mexico. That means the authorities are killing people. Okay? Forced disappearance by government agents. That means authorities are kidnapping people in Mexico. Harsh and life-threatening prison conditions. Okay, and today the State Department's warning again. And the American tourists in Puerto Vallarta, I've been there a couple of times, nice place, but there are nicer places. They can't get out of there because the cartels are killing people in response to their leader being captured and killed. So he's dead. And he should be dead. I mean, these are evil, evil people. We write about them in Confronting Evil. You don't get worse than these people. All right, now let's run it down. So in 2024, we don't have 25 stats yet. It's about 60,000 people murdered or disappeared in Mexico. 60,000. It's the most violent country in the hemisphere, by far. And if you get in trouble down there, nobody is going to help you. No one. In fact, they'll shake you down. All right. As I said, 20 million Americans visit Mexico every year. And that's the largest portion of anybody in the world, as you would expect. The safest places are the all-inclusive resorts that pick you up at the airport, say Cancun, whisk you to the property, and then you don't have to go out to eat. I was in Cabo San Lucas a few years ago, And I went down there to check it out because Cabo is a very, very attractive resort for West Coast people in particular. Army was everywhere. And that's what will happen now. The Army has to go to these resort areas. So it's not like automatically when you fly in there, you're going to be in danger. But in general, it is not a safe country. I hope we're all getting that. Now, there's going to be more violence because President Trump has told Sheinbaum, you got to wipe these cartels out. They're killing hundreds of thousands of Americans by smuggling heroin, fentanyl, cocaine into the USA. And you got to take care of it. Sheinbaum doesn't want to do this. Okay? She has to do it. Or America will do it. Because we have the technology to get these people. And the CIA all over Mexico, just like there was in Venezuela. So, when I got all those letters this morning, I just went, and these are people who watch me. I mean, I know the bubble people have no idea what's going on anywhere, but they don't watch the No Spin News. They don't go to BillO'Reilly.com. They don't know. They don't know anything. But people watch me. How many times do I have to tell you, you are in danger if you go there? It's out of your control. No one will help you. And here's a kicker on this memo. Hawaii is 1,000 times better than Mexico. And so is many places in the Caribbean. Now, the difference is Mexico's cheaper. It's cheaper to go to the all-inclusives there than it is in Hawaii or the Caribbean. Okay. You want to save a few bucks? Up to you. But there are travel advisories now for Americans and everybody else, because these cartel members, they'll gun you right down. They couldn't care less. And that's a memo. All right, State of the Union lunch. These are the anchor people that go in and schmooze with President Trump and then go back to their studios and hammer him. So, but Trump shows up for the lunch. I wasn't invited. I mean, I'd scare these people. And that took place at 12:30. And then the president preps for his 9 o'clock address this evening. So the U.S. men's hockey team, members of it are already there in the White House. The Hughes brothers, Matthew Tkachuk, I mean, a whole bunch of them. And we are very proud of them and happy they're patriots. If you get invited, it doesn't matter who the president is. You respect for the office. So I was invited to the White House a number of times under Barack Obama. I always went. Biden never invited me, but I would have gone. Women's hockey team, no. Nope. We'll get to that in a moment. Very weird story. I'm going to do my YouTube commentary on it. Very strange. And we're almost at the bottom of what is actually going on there. But it's not what the U.S. women's hockey team is telling us. Now, this evening, there's a whole bunch of invited guests. That gives you a hint on what's going to happen. Congressman Peter Stauber of Minnesota invited Nick Shirley. He's the journalist, independent guy who broke the Somali fraud in Minneapolis. Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer invited an Epstein victim, of course. And then Ilhan Omar, congressperson from Minnesota, also invited some people ICE allegedly abused. So, okay, that's fine. You can expect that Donald Trump will address the following this evening. The economy has to. He's going to tell everybody how good it is and it's getting better and all that. Then he's going to have to mention the tariffs. I hope he doesn't attack the Supreme Court justices. He might. But it would be better for the president and his party to keep it positive. Then he's going to have to say something about Ukraine, 4th anniversary today. We'll get to it. Iran and Gaza. Okay. I don't expect him to spend a lot of time on that. And then he's got to go with his immigration success. He'll scold Minnesota. I'm almost positive of that. But he'll go with, the great success that the president believes he's had on the immigration front. And finally, he'll marginalize the Democratic Party. But here's the kicker, and I reported this yesterday. The really militant wing of the House, Democrats in the House, aren't going to be there. So they have their own little State of the Union on the Mall, the People's State of the Union. Now, nobody's going to show up except the people who are paid to show up by the Soros money. But the real militants, and I guess there are maybe 20 of them, they have to go to the alternate because they are funded almost exclusively by far left money. They have to do what they're told to do. And the word went out, don't show up. So they won't. They're bought and paid for, these people. And they have to do what they're told to do because they run every 2 years and all their money comes from the Soros radical left people. There's many more than Alex and George Soros, many more. But if you defect from that, you don't get any money. So that's what's happening. That's what, and it's good they're not going to be there because then the level of disruption drops. Let's hope there's no unseemly occurrences at the State of the Union tonight. Tomorrow we'll have the best coverage in the world on it. So I hope you join us. And joining us now from Indianapolis is Ryan Jarmila. He is a senior director of government affairs at a law firm called Ice Miller, which is a humongous law firm with offices in Indiana, New York, Pennsylvania, D.C., all over the place. The reason that we have Mr. Jarmila on the program is because he did write or assist in President Trump's State of the Unions in his first term. So how active were you involved in putting those together? Yeah, I mean, I don't want you to brag, but give the audience an idea of what your participation was.
Sure. Well, thanks, Bill. Thanks for having me on.
Sure.
It was a great privilege to be on President Trump's speechwriting team. I joined his team in 2016 during the election and served as a special assistant to him during his first 2 years of his first term. So I played a small role in it. Certainly not going to take credit for having the pen on the State of the Union address for President Trump, but really enjoyed being a part of his team and playing a small supporting role in the crafting of the State of the Union addresses.
All right. Well, you were working on it on a day-to-day level. So let's walk through it. How far ahead does the process start?
It begins months before the address. I would assume that the speech the president will give tonight began in earnest before the holidays, and his team began crafting it and working on it through the holidays, and has continued to refine it with input from every facet of the White House and through the cabinet agencies as they get to a final product.
Now, Stephen Miller has a big role in writing most of the president's speeches. Let's assume he's involved with this tonight. How many other people would be working with Miller?
Yeah, so the president's speechwriting team, when I worked there, we had half a dozen, maybe 8 writers and researchers that would really be involved in it. I'm sure Stephen Miller, whom I served with in Trump 45, will be a part of it, as will Ross Worthington, Vince Haley, a lot of gentlemen who've worked for President Trump for a long time.
Okay. So when does the president get involved? When does he start to dip in and discuss what he wants to say and read what's already been written?
Yeah, I think once the team has a product that's ready for the president's eyes, it'll go to the president and he'll do a read through, make his edits, make his comments, and they'll continue to refine the product from there. You had mentioned earlier in the program the Team USA men's hockey team coming to the State of the Union address tonight. I'm sure a lot of your viewers saw the video of the president calling the team in the locker room right after
Sure.
that big win over the weekend. And Deputy Chief of Staff to the President, Dan Scavino, tweeted a photo of the president on the phone. It looked like to me he was rehearsing the State of the Union address over the weekend.
Yeah, certainly that'll be mentioned because he does want some Democrats not to applaud. So that's what he's looking for.
He's had a lot of success.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's politics, and that's what it is. So the president will praise the men's hockey team. All the Republicans will leap to their feet and applaud and go, yay, yay, yay. And then the camera will pan. The Democrats are almost forced to stand and go, yay, yay, yay. And if they don't, it's going to hurt that party. And that's what the Republicans are hoping for, those kinds of moments. Now, so you say that the president doesn't really get involved until maybe a week or so before the speech is to be delivered? Would you say that was realistic?
No, I would say once the team has put together a cohesive draft that's ready for the president, that they're ready to present.
But when would that
president.
be? When would a draft be available? A month?
A couple weeks before the speech. Yeah, a month, a couple weeks before the speech.
Okay. All right. So in that window from February 1st on, there'll be some kind of draft. Now, some presidents are more involved than others in editing. So Joe Biden wasn't involved at all. Zero. Okay. But Barack Obama, he rewrote a lot of what he would say. Where is Trump in that process?
I think that President Trump's very involved. You know, he's got a unique voice. He's been the most significant figure in American politics for a decade now. And I think he's very involved in the process.
But you don't have to think, though. You were there, Ryan. Was he involved when you were there? Tell me what he did.
He's very involved. I imagine he'll be editing the speech right up until the time he leaves for Capitol Hill later this evening.
Okay. When you say editing, he's taking his pen, he's crossing out some words, he's writing in some words, and then they're retyped. Does he do a teleprompter rehearsal, as many presidents do?
He does, yes.
How many?
I would assume he'd go through it. They would go through a full rehearsal 2 or 3 times.
Because it's going to be at least 90 minutes. I mean, that's a lot of time. I assume that's what he's doing right now, is that he's running through the teleprompter and getting his rhythm down. Now, I don't use a teleprompter. I'm the only anchorman in the world that doesn't, I think, national. But I did when I was at Fox. I used a teleprompter. And you don't want to become too dependent on the words, like the Biden stare into you don't want to do that. You want to have it fresh and vibrant. And Trump goes off script a lot, correct?
That's correct.
Did you guys...
By the time he comes to the podium tonight, he'll be very familiar with the text, and he'll feel very comfortable going in and out of the prepared text. Okay.
Final question for you. When the president signs off on the whole thing, and the rehearsals are over, prompter, everything is done. Okay. How long does he have? And just like your experience now. At 9 o'clock, he goes up. Is he done at 6? Does he have a little supper? Does he take a nap? What happens in that period?
Yeah, I think probably right before dinner, then they'll have the speech buttoned up right before he goes off to Capitol Hill.
Okay. When you say you think, you were there, Ryan, so you know logistically how it works. So everything you said, I can take to the bank, correct?
Absolutely.
All right. All right, Ryan, thanks very much for helping us out. We appreciate it. And we'll talk again, I hope. Final thought, just a brief one. Savannah Guthrie is offering $1 million for information about her mother. This is a heartbreaking story. Been going on since January 31st. Nobody knows where the woman is. And now her daughter, Savannah, who I know a little bit, is offering $1 million. And I wish it was something I could do. You know, I really do. I know the story's been overcovered to some degree, but, you know, it's mom. That's what it is. So if anybody is listening to me that knows anything about it, please. FBI, first call. Thank you for watching and listening to the No Spin News. We'll be back with a special analysis of the State of the Union tomorrow. See you then.